At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
It's late. I'm going to sleep in a little, just winding down from the game. It's a little after 2. So we're going to record RAWtalk a little later in the morning. And, yeah, we'll be A-okay. A-okay. Good night, Steven.
The song like you really know the lyrics.
When trouble comes my way, I'll be drinking lemonade.
I know I'll be A-okay. I know I'll be A-okay.
The song is called A-OK, and the reason I played it earlier, Bryson Stott of the Phillies, that's his walk-up song, and the whole stadium starts singing it when he comes up to the plate. And we're going to talk quite a lot about baseball in a minute. Yeah, we'll talk about it. As you heard, I didn't go to bed till 2:37, maybe 2:38 after I emailed Steven.
I need to know seconds, Jared. 2:37 and how many seconds?
I don't know how many seconds. I don't know how many seconds it was, but that's when I went to bed. We'll talk about that game in just a little later on in the episode. This is episode 71, where you can, it's RAWtalk. We get texts from you, and my paper's still not here, so you can get the number down below to text us. One of these days, Steven, I'll remember it. But I'm going to talk about someone buying an image from me. We're going to talk about some quotes from iPhone photographer that Apple hired, and these quotes are terrible. Sigma dropped the 70 to 200 2.8 for the E mount as well as the L mount.
Finally.
And then we're going to get into a user comment towards me that was a hater comment. And then we'll get into some of the stuff from the baseball learning experiences that I had at the game, what I shot with. This is for everybody, so don't think it's just going to be a baseball talk. It's still going to pull up great information for photographers, no matter what you shoot. Things that you can focus on and just stuff to put into your brain. So it's going to be good. Don't worry. It's all. Not all, but it's going to be photography skewed.
I'm not a sports guy at all, so I will keep it on track.
Not a sports guy, yet he was at the game last night.
I mean, they're playoffs, you know? You got to go.
What, the playoffs?
I jumped on the bandwagon.
Playoffs? Steven, have a beer? Did you have a beer?
I had several beers, yes.
How much were your beers?
They were like $18 each. It's insane. And then they ask you to tip them after when all they do is, here you go.
Did Joe serve you the beer?
No, I wish. I kept trying to see him, though. I was looking for him, but there's so many of those guys.
I'm not sure if he's covering the game, but his sister, Sam, or Sarah, Sam, I think it's Sam.
Yeah.
She was doing popcorn the other day. Her skill set is that she can balance the whole bin, the popcorn bin, on her head and walk up and down the stairs.
It takes some serious talent. I was looking at some of the guys carrying the beers. I mean, that's a lot of weight going up and down nonstop.
Do you know what they really should have instead of those buckets that they held in front of them? They should have a backpack with a slot on the side that drops the beer, like they can grab the can and bring it out. At least it's on their back.
Yeah, I've seen like the backpack coolers at certain stadiums, but I don't think Philly has that at all. Very old school here.
What I'll tell you is that when I was in my at the my brain.
Wake up, Jared, wake up.
When I was in Tampa at the Rays game, they don't have anybody coming around the stands selling stuff.
Because nobody goes to their games.
Well, they had, that's
not
correct.
Even worth
no one does.
People to do it.
It's not worth it, but they have nobody. So it was kind of weird to see no concession vendors. And if I think about it, I don't know that they have them going around Wrigley Field in Chicago either.
Interesting.
Which is interesting. Hey, I just realized, do you see what I'm wearing right now around my neck? Look, it's a picture of
MLB Photo Pass.
It's my MLB Photo Pass. I put it on so I didn't forget it. I did that yesterday in the morning before I went to the game. But yeah, this one can be retired because this one is officially done for the year. Now you just need approval for the rest.
So you can share that one all over the internet now.
I still won't do that. I still won't do that. But yeah, so we got the baseball talk coming up, and I want to jump into someone's buying an image from me. Now it was based
for
off
$10
of me.
million.
11. We were doing. It was one of my 6 degree shoots.
Okay.
And that's where I say you could use the image for whatever you'd like for social media purposes. And if you want to use it for something else, let me know and we'll figure it out.
And keep in mind, you do these shoots for free too, correct?
I do. I don't charge anybody for them because it's my choice.
They want to license them or use those photos commercially.
Basically. But I'm also pretty lenient when it comes to that stuff because it just doesn't matter to me. Yeah. They gave me the access. I can get them the pictures. Well, they want to use the picture for something. I'm not going to go into details about who it is or what it is because they're doing something cool. And they decided, the guy calls me who's in the picture and he goes, I know you said I could use them for whatever I wanted, which I did, with really no restrictions like I just said a couple seconds ago. But he's like, I just wanted to make sure that this was cool. I also wanted to get you paid a little bit. And what would you want to get paid for this? And I'm like, honestly, I said you could use them and
you
pick a
can't
number.
Afford me.
I was just like, pick a number and I'm fine. Or just get me a bunch of dinners.
Sure.
At your restaurants, which is worth it, which is good. But he's like, no, we want to get you paid. We want to do this. And he comes back. He's like, think about it. And I'm like, I don't need to think about it. You can use the image. It's fine. Right.
You're very lenient with that. Yeah.
And they wanted to give me a certain amount of money. I'm not going to say how much. It's not a lot and it's not a little. It's not bad. It's no D3 or R3, money. It would be a nice lens. We'll put it that way. It would be an okay lens.
Yeah.
But then I got, they didn't use a lawyer, but what the guy did is he used a past law document or agreement that they had when they bought an image from someone else to then send it to me. And the wording was just like, I was just like, no. I responded back. I'm like, that's not how it works. Basically what they wrote was, well, we buy the image from you. You have no rights to the image ever. And we own the rights for all of perpetuity in all of eternity to use any way we want, blah, blah, blah.
And
this is all you get. And I replied back and I was like, no, this is how I do it. I don't ever sell my rights to an image. One, if you're going to do a buyout for the rights to an image, it's like 10x what you were going to pay originally because you want to own the rights and the photographer has no rights to do it. Not that I get into licensing or anything. That's just not my jam. So I wrote back and I was like, no, I own the rights to the image and I'm rewording it, but you have unlimited usage for all of perpetuity any way that you see fit to use this image, which is basically unlimited rights. Now,
well, so what's the difference then in the end? Like, why do they need to outright own the image? Why can't they just simply license it from you?
Well, because what they're doing with the image, they want to make sure that no one else uses it because they're going to be using it for something that.
Yeah, and they want to make sure that agreement on that though.
Well, exactly. So what I said to the guy is, because when I talked to him on the phone, I now understand what his concern was that I might sell that image to someone else to be used, which is not going to happen. This image is not usable for someone else.
Yeah, it makes sense. He's just trying to protect himself, and I get it, but you would never do that. That's the difference.
But he also then, after we were on the phone, he must have sent me an email that I didn't see yet that said, I was always under the impression that when we pay for the image and we get the rights. And then I said to you, I was like, that's like me going to a restaurant, ordering dinner, and then saying, well, I now own the recipe and you can't use it anymore because I paid for dinner.
Yeah, it's buying a CD and saying you own the music now,
Right. And so that's not how it works. And I'm not a stickler for this stuff at all. But I said, you can use the images for the image however you see fit, any way you want, unlimited usage for all of eternity. I still own the picture. And the reason I still own the picture is if I ever do a book, if I ever want to do this type of stuff in the future, I can use my own image.
So that's what I was going to ask. What's holding you back? Why does it matter if you sell them the image? Is it an image that you're really proud of at the end of the day?
No, it's not even that. And I don't think I'll ever use the image. And I don't know if it becomes a book image anyway. But it's more so the
principle of it?
The principle of the matter is it's my image. Mm-hmm. And I said you could use it for whatever you want. And if your main concern... If your main concern is me selling it to someone else and them being able to use it the same way. And I said, I know how you're going to use the image. If someone else was to take the same image or a similar image and try to pass it along as doing what you guys are trying to do, that ends up becoming trademark infringement for how you're going to be doing it. So That's not a thing. I'm not going to sell it to anybody. It's not going to happen. We can put it in writing, but I still own the rights to all of my work.
Paint the picture of what this image looks like. You can be vague about it.
I don't need to paint the picture. It's just a picture
of a person or no?
Yeah, it's a person.
Okay.
It's a person doing something in the image.
Okay.
I don't really need to go into, I don't want to go into detail about it.
I assume I've seen this picture before.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not one of my outstanding standout pictures, but it's a picture that resonated with the people, and that's why they want to use it. And I don't think they're going to use the actual image. I think they might turn it into something else.
A graphic of some sort.
Yeah, but that's fine. So the moral of the story here is that just people need to be very careful when they're talking to photographers, because they devalue a lot of what we do unknowingly. But also, ignorance isn't always the answer. But saying that if you pay me for an image, that doesn't mean you transfer all the rights to someone. And if you do want to own the rights outright, then I'm going to put a $10,000 number on it and be, okay, here you go. But I don't want to do that.
I think the confusion too with you is like, you're more about like handshakes, talking in person, being more vague about the photo shoot and what they can keep, what they can use in the end. There's no written material. There's no contracts specifically saying you will always own the photo. They can only license it, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like when this happens, there's always a lot of confusion because it was never really talked about in the beginning.
Well, it is talked about though. I say it, I write it in the emails when we're corresponding,
but your
and I tell them
are probably like one sentence.
It's very simple.
There's no details is what I mean.
Well, right, but that you can't always put every little detail. That's what a contract ends up being, and I don't like doing that.
Sure, I just think of like my wedding photographer, for example. I had to sign like a 6-page contract that went over every single specific detail about what would happen during the photo shoot, what I owned, blah blah blah, what I can do with them.
Yeah, you can do whatever the hell you want because, like, she's not going to come back and look at you and be like, You're going to get sued because you used my pictures.
Speaking of other photographers, I did get photos back from my newborn photo shoot, and they came out great. Very happy. Yeah? Very happy with the entire shoot, with the edits, with everything.
Tinsel toes?
Tiny toes.
Tiny toes. Tiny bubbles. That's good.
Yeah.
So well worth the $550.
$575. Get it right.
Wait, you said $550?
No, I said $575.
Well, I thought you said it was 500 and you were off by 50.
75.
All right, 575. Was it worth it?
Yes, it was well worth it.
Right?
Yeah.
For how much time she probably spent doing it? It's probably like $100 an hour.
Yeah, and again, I wasn't trying to say that it wasn't worth the $575. I was just saying to a lot of people, to the average person, that is a lot of money for a photo shoot. I think most people would max out at that $300 price range. The average person is what I mean. I'm not saying she wasn't worth $575. Exactly. You get average work. That's what it comes down to. You get what you pay for. So
yeah,
well worth it.
That's why they pay me nothing, because you get garbage. Oh, sick burn, bro. Sick burn. Self-deprecating humor is the best humor that you can have, because no one can yell at you for making fun of yourself. I mean, they can still, because then you end up making a dick joke, and then they like Laowa. Is that what they're called?
I think so, yeah.
They want to know when you're going to use the probe lenses at your dad's Lego thing.
No idea. I don't know.
I know. I told them we've been busy. We will get to that, because that was when I contacted them about the microscopic lenses that came out. And then I made the dick pic joke about that. I'll finally be able to get a good dick pic.
Are they going to give you a microscopic lens?
They put out that kit where it's 10, 20, and 50x microscopic. It's $1,500. They're going to send me all the rings for it.
So that's why they were asking, because they didn't want to send you another set of lenses when you didn't even use the first set.
But the thing is, I do promote it separately. Like, no, we don't do the review right away sometimes. Obviously, we've been extremely busy lately. But the microscopic thing, we'll get to this. I think, Steven, I had a revelation. Can I interrupt myself?
Sure.
We're getting to the point about gear where we've been at the point for a long time where people misconstrue when we talk about gear. They feel that means we think gear is the most important thing in photography, and you and I and all the professionals understand that it's not.
It's quite the opposite.
And I need to make it abundantly clear somehow that if you don't understand the fundamentals and basics, I guess I've been saying this all along. If you don't understand the fundamentals and basics, it doesn't matter what gear that you use. And today, if you can't get a good picture with every camera on the market, I don't care if it's an OM Systems or a Pentax or a Fuji or anything else. If you can't do it, it's you. It's not the camera. But unless you use a Z6. And in that case, the autofocus is just so fucking shit. No, but even with the Z6, if you don't understand the limitations of your camera and how to get around them, then it's you. And so I really want to try and focus on writing some, and you've tried to push me to do this, and I'm the one that holds it back because I procrastinate about writing. When I finally do write those scripts, though, I sit down and I hammer it out, but then we got to film it. Auto ISO, I'm going to write that script.
And what happens is, you'll go one day and write like 4 different scripts at one time when I've been asking for like weeks for you to, spread them out and let's do a couple different separate videos. So you'll get into the swing of things and start writing a ton of them in one single day, but it takes a while for you to get to that point. And then we usually have to go over it together to see because sometimes you'll make up a story and I'm like, I have nothing to show. This is just a simple talking head video. Which
favorite camera of all time. How's that one doing?
Exactly.
Was that like 7 months ago we filmed that?
It was right before we moved.
Yeah, I know.
And the issue there is you did an entire backstory, and we were going to do some dramatized B-roll, recreating, like pretending you're shooting with the D3S and all of that, and just showing you with the camera. Because besides that, it's just you talking about the D3S with nothing to show at all. And I ended up contacting Nikon, actually, our rep, and asking if they had any old promotional material for the D3S. And I got a couple brochures. I found the original promo video on YouTube. It's super low res though, but I think I can get away with it. It's all right. I think it's the Japanese version too. So there's like a lot of Japanese text on the screen, but I really don't care.
Nikon.
But yeah, it's just videos like that. It just takes some time because unless you just want a simple talking head video, which I don't think makes it very visually appealing and interesting.
No,
we need to just take time to shoot B-roll and or go through the archives and pick out and pluck out because you can write the script in 2 hours. Yeah. But that might take 5 days to edit or 2 days or whatever it may be.
It's always this rub. We know that gear is what people want to see. They want to see the new lenses. There's always something coming out. They want to hear us talk about it. That's why I try not to go into super duper detail about some of the super technical stuff.
And it's hard to say gear doesn't matter and we don't care about it. Meanwhile, we're shooting with flagship cameras and bodies and the best lenses out there.
I say it all the time, Steven.
It obviously does matter. But at the same time, it matters
to the people that it matters to.
It only holds you back if it's actually limiting, like, you don't want to shoot sports with a 2 frames per second EOS RP or something. You know what I mean?
But what I'll say is if I had to, see, this is the thing.
Sure.
A pro
it just makes it a lot easier to
right.
shoot with a flagship body.
A pro can grab any camera in any system and figure out how to get some results from it. An amateur is going to take the best gear, what I used last night, and fail miserably because, one, they don't understand their settings, and they don't understand composition, and they don't understand timing, and they haven't studied what they need to study to shoot it. I mean, that's just a given. I want to try to focus there. I mean, there's a lot to do, but I really... When I did the super secret project back in the day, that was me buying a D3000 and a 35-1.8 and showing people that you could shoot a concert with it. And that video is up there. That's a really good video that I did years ago at the TLA.
Yeah, and that stuff's great. It's just the issue with when we were doing like 5-minute portraits, it was just becoming monotonous. It was the same thing over and over every time. Make sure you get your wides, mediums, tights, details, and let's just take the same photos. It's great to throw that stuff in, sprinkle it in along with all the gear reviews and everything else. The scripted stuff, personally, is my favorite stuff. I think it shows a different side of you because you're actually talking like a normal human being and not screaming and yelling, talking fast. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And 2, I just think it's always visually appealing and interesting to hear like backstories of your past or whatever it may be. Like the end, for example.
And I think I have to get back to the breaking down the fundamentals again. I did all that stuff 13 plus years ago. It's time to try and pick up a different audience, a new audience, engage the audience that we already have with things like, in this day and age, auto ISO. Why I wouldn't ever use auto ISO for what I was shooting last night.
And just keep in mind, this isn't 2010 anymore. A lot has changed on YouTube, and what has worked back then will not exactly work today. There's a lot more quote unquote competition on YouTube. A lot more stuff to find via
Why
search.
are you leading me down this path of saying other people suck? Why are you doing that, Steven? Why are you going to do it?
You're putting words in my mouth.
Why are you doing it? Speaking of putting words in your mouth, there was an article put up. Apple hired a photographer to go use the iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Which I wish I had last night, by the way, at the game.
You didn't have?
No, I just got it in the other day and I didn't have a chance to set it up fully yet.
You should have. It's not like you have a baby or anything.
The second I clock out of work, it's daddy duty.
So I'll read you some of these quotes that came out of here because they're basically landscape photos and they're fantastic. You would never know that they were taken with an iPhone. Mm-hmm. But the reason I'm bringing it an iPhone, the reason I'm bringing it up is there's some statements and quotes that are made that are just like, if you weren't getting paid by Apple a shit ton of money to do this, you wouldn't be dropping this.
Is not needed anymore. Introducing the iPhone 15 Pro Max 5x zoom lens.
He's like, the iPhone 15 Pro can shoot Pro RAW up to 48 megapixels, which gives me a raw DNG file that I can work with to create the final image. And the guy's name is Wu. He adds that he also uses the phone's night mode, which allows him to shoot exposures up to 30 seconds long on a tripod. I get the same exact feeling from getting the shot on an iPhone camera as I do on a bigger mirrorless or DSLR camera.
Because it feels so good in the hands, just like a mirrorless camera.
See, that's the thing is I'm sitting here testing these photos, testing out the camera on the iPhone, and it doesn't feel like a camera. It feels like a phone that I'm pressing buttons on, and it just doesn't make much. It's not like shooting a real camera.
Well, and just a quick sneak peek, we did just film an iPhone 15 Pro Max 5X review, basically comparing it to the Nikon Z9, which will come out very soon. And yeah, it's definitely close, some of the photos, but I still think you can easily tell when one is shot with an iPhone versus a flagship $6,000 camera or $5,500.
Yes. And the another quote is, I'm interested in getting the most out of the camera using the same app that every iPhone user uses. And rather than slowly learn how to use more complicated third-party apps, I can create my artistic vision quickly and instinctively and in the moment, and then I can cash that Apple check. It doesn't actually say that, but that's what this is basically saying. Apple's whole thing, and we talk about it in the video that we're coming out with, is that they want to make it as easy for the 99.99% of the photographers out there in the world to shoot. Sure, people don't want the manual exposure modes. Now, I believe that the Pixel 8s. The new phone that came out, do you have more manual control in those settings?
Natively,
Apple really doesn't. Yeah, natively. Apple doesn't want to give you that because they just really want you to take pictures and rely on them.
What I don't like about the iPhone is in terms of like tracking. If you were tracking a shot, like, they say you can shoot sports with it, the box doesn't like stay locked. You have to keep like tapping the screen to track the subject. And it's just very annoying when you're in video mode, though. Obviously, it tracks a moving subject. So why can't it do it in photo?
That I don't know.
I am excited to finally set up this iPhone 15 Pro Max, though, because my battery life is just terrible on the iPhone 11 at this point.
Did you get a Max?
I got a Max, yeah.
Yeah, so I brought it in. I brought in the case.
What color, Jared?
They gave me purple.
Great.
They gave me purple, but it's just a case. I don't even think you need a case.
You want to know what color my iPhone 11 is? Purple.
Well, that's
because you picked it out.
Yeah, they gave me that back in the day, and Steven's been rocking that
and
since
I've been
the
rocking
iPhone.
A black case on it the entire time.
Well, are you going to get a case on the new one?
I probably will. I drop my phone too many times, man, and the one time I don't have a case on it, I'll probably crack it or something like that. I always put a screen protector on there because I've dropped the one time, I think on my iPhone 6S, I dropped a phone without my screen protector on. As I was literally changing the screen protector, screen broke. Of course.
Wow.
Yeah. So now I always have a screen protector, as much as I hate it, but whatever.
So there's more quotes here that we're getting to because it just keeps progressively getting deeper and deeper into what I think is bullshit. And he goes, I think the younger generation of creators looking to buy their first camera will more likely want an iPhone over a dedicated camera. Wu says, this is because the iPhone is a hybrid device that combines an amazing camera and software, as well as a platform for engaging on apps like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. See, that's just utter bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand always having an iPhone, but if you really, truly are passionate about photography and want to take it a step further, you're going to graduate to a quote-unquote real camera.
Absolutely, 100%.
There's no way you're not going to want to better yourself with photography and try to take an actual photo with a true camera. So
right.
I get that, but at the same time, I think there's still a huge market for people wanting to upgrade from an iPhone.
The younger generation gets it.
Oh yeah,
right. They get it. They are creative, and they do put this stuff on social media.
The Sony Collective, they're all younger, and they love it.
But people are not being like, you know what? I want to get into photography, so I'm going to go buy an iPhone.
Exactly. Well, for example,
that's not how it works.
Remember, I had a friend, an old coworker. Jesus Christ.
Coworker? Was he in the mines, Steven? Did he get the black lung? Did he get the coworker? Your old coworker? Coworker. Coworker,
yeah.
Steven.
Oh, the Philly's coming out.
Not coal worker.
Anyway, a guy I used to work with at the radio station.
Did he phone you from Wawa?
He was getting into photography via his phone. It wasn't an iPhone. It was like some kind of Samsung or Google Android phone. And he loved it, but he wanted to graduate to a real camera. So we helped him out and gave him a 5D Mark III, I think, with like a 24-105. And now he is obsessed with it and takes it around everywhere. And instead of, his entire workflow was on the phone before, now he's actually using Lightroom and a proper editing platform. So he's right there, a perfect example. He wanted to better himself in photography, and he wanted to graduate to a bigger real camera.
You know what I continually kind of forget is that when I started, this stuff didn't exist. You didn't have the YouTubes. Yep. You didn't have social media. We had AOL.
You didn't have phones that could actually take real pictures or even like a decent picture.
I didn't have a phone, Steven. It was 1994.
Oh.
We didn't have them like readily available. And I also, for whatever reason, never went to the library, as I've said a million times. I'm like, why didn't I go to the library and look up photo books? Because I was stupid like that. But I continually forget that it took me like a decade to get out of aperture priority. And so when I'm talking to people, I understand the hesitation to get out of auto. It's not easy. And I understand why they use auto ISO and they use everything else. But I really feel that in a matter of months, 6 months to a year of shooting in this day and age with everything right in front of you, maybe even quicker than that, you should, if I teach you right, I might have to charge, but you get it? Milkshake? Get it? That was good, right? Yeah. That was awesome. Ding! That there's no reason why you shouldn't be in full manual within a matter of months these days. And maybe I need to make videos about understanding how to look at your viewfinder and make that a note, Steven. Let me make a note here. Make a note. You ready? EVF understanding video. Understanding video.
And the thing is, we've done videos about EVFs, especially EVFs versus OVFs. What's the difference? Mirrorless versus DSLR, all of those types of videos. Yet, I do think it's probably a little long in the tooth at this point. I think that was 2019 when we did that video, and there's been a lot of changes with EVFs too.
But
in the past
what
few
I'm
years.
getting at with the EVF is helping people understand what to do if X happens, right? So yeah, you have the perfect exposure in front of your face. You have the ability to do that. But if I'm shooting a baseball player and it looks perfect, but I'm at 1/30th of a second at f6.3 at 1000 ISO, that's not going to be a great shot.
And that's the misleading part about EVFs, because like you said, it looks perfect in the viewfinder, but you're not really knowing that, hey, I'm not going to freeze the action at 1/30th of a second or whatever it may be.
This is all the stuff that will end up in the video guide eventually that I will be filming and putting out. Is understand it's going to be built for the future, not so much the past. I might include the original guide as a download just because that information on its own is still valid, even though it was a DSLR back in 2010 and 11 when we filmed that. The fundamentals are the fundamentals are the fundamentals. The basics of photography have been the basics of photography since day 2, not so much day 1. Exposure, shutter speed, aperture, ISO. That stuff never changes.
The exposure triangle.
It stays the same no matter how the technology changes. Technology evolves. That's where auto ISO and all that stuff comes into play. But yeah, so my thing is I need to make that stuff, and educate a new generation of people who are not going to be picking up an iPhone and being like, this is what I want to shoot photos with because this is all I can do.
The tricky part, though, about teaching an iPhone user or a phone user is they're used to not adjusting any settings. They're used to just looking at the screen, tapping it, calling it a day. So it's hard, I think, for them to wrap their brain around, well, it looks fine in the viewfinder. Why can't I just take a picture and it should just do it for me?
That's why we wrap our head around it by demonstrating.
Yeah. That's the tough part.
Yeah, but it's not easy. And that's why the YouTube channels in the past that are like, we keep our videos to 4 minutes because we give you all the information in 4 minutes that you need. And now those channels don't exist because you can't just survive on giving the basics and basics of basics in 4 minutes because there's so much nuance in photography.
And when you truly want to learn on YouTube, you are watching a full-blown tutorial that could even be an hour long of how to clean your hot water heater, how to do whatever, We
know what Steven's doing this weekend.
No, I actually did that a few months ago, so I think I'm good. But yeah, people don't care. They will watch a full hour-long video like our user guides, and then we also throw in the super short, sweet videos like that are 4 minutes long. A little bit of both.
Another quote, social media and content creators are essentially the same thing now, and the iPhone is a much more powerful tool from this perspective as a door to digital space we all connect through as humans. Sure, in some sense of the words, like it depends on, do you want throwaway content that's instant and you just put it up and it's gone as soon as it's consumed? Or are you looking to capture images that live on? It's the same thing I deal with at baseball games. You've got the news shooters who are shooting for news. And then you've got someone like me who's shooting for the story, for something that's bigger and longer lasting than just a trivial tight shot. We'll talk more about that when we get there.
Yeah.
To wrap this one up, the guy got some great photos. You can go to Petapixel. Just look for the article. They did it here. It's photographer Ruben Wu showcases the power of iPhone 15 Pro Max. I want to make it abundantly clear. I think the images are fantastic, and you would not know that they were done with an iPhone because they're landscapes. But we have proven, and you'll see in the video that Steven's editing and will be out at some point with the iPhone versus the real camera, is that when you put them side by side for the thing that I was shooting, you can absolutely tell the difference in most situations.
Well, and like I've said before too, when you actually look at an iPhone image on a real monitor, on a big screen, or even a TV screen, that's when you can truly tell the difference. On a phone, like when you texted me the image shot on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, I thought you shot it with a real camera at first because I'm looking at it on a 2-inch little screen vertically, That was pretty mind-blowing, I will say, when you were like, that's the iPhone. I'm like, really? And then when I zoomed in, that's when I'm like, oh, I can tell now.
Super imperfect.
Yeah, the foca was all over the place, and yeah.
Moving on. It's playoff time.
Yes.
And that brings up me shooting things, and it brought up a really nice negative comment posted on my in my comment section. I don't fully go through those all the time. So this was a couple days after I posted an image, and the quote is simple. Must be nice being a guest for the Phillies and YouTube influencer instead of having the credentials going to working media. You are just guest. You admit that last year in your video. And I replied back, I should read my reply back, right, Steven?
Oh, it's probably pretty harsh.
So you're here to talk down on me, ? What's your problem? I've earned my keep, bro. Basically tell him to shut the fuck up. No one gives a shit what you have to say. You know that it's going to be a problem when someone starts off a sentence with must be nice. Any person that you've ever known that says that, and I worked with someone who said that back in the day, and I said to them when they would say stuff like that, I'm like, stop saying things like must be nice.
The only time where I think that's actually okay to say is like nepotism, where you're just handed everything on a platter. That's where I think it's like must be nice because you didn't earn your keep.
Right, but also it's difficult for it's not the person's fault that was nepotized.
Sure,
they didn't choose to be there. But it's what that person does.
It must be nice.
No, it's an interesting place to be, but sure,
yeah.
But when the statement that you always make is must be nice, it just shows that you have sour grapes. It shows that you're jealous as fuck.
Jealous?
And it shows that you are in the wrong mindset. You are in a defeatist mindset. Yep. Meaning you go into every situation already defeated because your answer is going to be, well, I didn't have it handed to me with, on a silver platter. So the person to make that statement, and their statements are false here. This whole thing about must be nice being a guest for the Phillies, I believe what he's referring to is last year when I shot the playoffs, it said guest Jared or Phillies guest Jared Polin. That's just what they say for credential
everyone, correct?
Was written.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was just what it was written for me. They didn't know what to call me. They could just call it Frono's Photo.
Sure.
Because what people need to understand is that I have a larger reach than a lot of the other news organizations that are photographing these things. I may not be a AP, I may not be a newswire who's looking to get stuff out into the world instantly, but all of this information that I'm sharing from every game, examples of images, education about what I did right, about what I did wrong, those are all impressions that are valuable and why I have a credential.
Exactly. And think about like a newspaper shooter or something like that, where they're literally there the entire game for a single photograph for a headline, where you're making multiple videos out of one game and putting it out to thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, we're media just like the rest. It's just a little different in new age these days.
And to say like you're just a guest and YouTube influencer instead of having the credentials going to working media. First off, I'm not taking away a space or credentials from anybody.
Yeah.
There's a billion spaces to shoot at the Phillies. Maybe not down low with everybody else as the playoffs go on, but there's elevated spots for everybody in the stadium.
I was going to say there are certain, they give priority to other photographers, right? And news agencies, and you're kind of a little lower on that totem pole.
Well, yes, official photography, ones that are approved by the league, like Getty, AP, Newswires, all of those, the local newspapers, which I reach more than the local newspapers, by the way.
That's my point.
They get placed in the photo well, right? There's 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 shooters in each one of those spaces and maybe 6 on the other side on first base. So those are limited. And I'm in a handicap spot, taking away a spot from someone who's handicapped, Steven. That's what I just realized. I'm in a handicap spot.
You're being just like the porta potty, man.
Oh, yeah, not giving a handicapped person a place to be. Thanks.
No, but that's what I'm saying is you're not taking up space for other working professionals that are there. You're not taking the best spot over the actual official MLB photographer. It's a lot different.
And guess what I am, Steven? I am an actual working photographer in this situation. It's just different than what people are used to.
Yeah,
as the iPhone
different.
guy said, a lot of photographers are gravitating towards iPhones, right? In a new world, this is the way that it's done. This is the way that it's done.
This is the way.
I've earned my keep. I'm a YouTube influencer. No, I'm a photographer who makes YouTube videos. I've said this a million times. When someone asks me, Jared, what do you do for a living? I'm a photographer who so happens to make a living off of YouTube. I don't want to call myself an influencer, but I will call myself an influencer because I actually do influence people, unlike those girls that just show their titties all day, and then that's all they got on it, and that's all that gets served to me on Instagram are girls just looking hot. I like that, but I've actually started to stop even
I click on
looking
it,
at
I
these.
watch it, but
I've stopped, Steven. It's super enticing,
because
I stopped.
The algorithm's just going to feed you more and more of that crap.
Well, thankfully I stopped getting the religious stuff. I stopped getting those religious girls.
Because you would watch them.
I would, because I'd be like, you suck. Jesus isn't helping you.
Angry.
The one girl she had the cross cut in her front teeth. You know?
My God.
That was just, and I'm like, why are you showing me this? And then finally one day it stopped. But they show me, you see a lot of these girls that are in their 20s and they have 30,000, 60,000, 150, 200, 300,000 people. And what they're doing is promoting their OnlyFans, which is a totally fine business to be in. Use your body safely to make as much money as you can and as you want. There's been so many women that have used their bodies.
Must be nice.
It must be nice to have titties. Well, you just take your shirt off, Steven.
My man boobs. Take it back.
What I'm getting at, before anybody calls me a misogynist, is that I have zero problem with women utilizing their sexuality and their body to generate revenue to then pursue some major business ventures, which a lot of women have done, and I'm sure men have done as well. that brings up that whole misogyny thing.
How did we get down this rabbit hole?
I just get down this rabbit hole because,
oh my God. Baseball to this? What?
No, what I'm getting at, because I'm talking about the influencer who shows their boobs. The ones that sexualize everything. And then if you were to meet them in real life and you say something.
How dare you look at me?
They'll be like, how dare you sexualize me? I'm like, well, one, I'm actually not sexualizing you. But all you're putting out into the world is your ass in every photo and your titties in every photo. And what do you expect?
Yeah.
Certain guys, yes, it's not a good statement to say, what do you expect?
Yeah.
But it's what do you expect from the fucking loser douchebag guys who are over-sexualized, who don't know how to treat women and understand the difference. In reality, that you can't just walk up to this girl just because she puts out sexualized material and think that you're going to automatically fuck her.
It's unfortunately the scumbags in the crowd that they attract.
Correct.
The lowlifes, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the reason I bring that up.
A piece of meat at the end of the day.
Right.
Anyway, back to baseball.
I draw a lot of men who like my ass in photos.
Do you know how many texts? We just got a text message the other day, and they're like, "Man, I didn't realize Jared had such a dump truck." We get a lot of texts about your ass, man.
Well, it was that B&H. Maybe I don't know if they
that angle,
if their angle or they scrunched the image and it spread my. I looked massive on stage there.
They shot in 4:3 and then stretched it to 16:9.
That's what it seems like because my ass seems so much bigger in that video.
I will say that video quality looks absolutely horrendous.
Steven, you can't say that. B&H is going to get upset. You can absolutely say
the audio, everything about that. It's like, would you hire a high school kid to do it?
The audio is tinny. The video quality looks like they digitally zoomed 7 times.
And the latency, I had to fix that in post. It was off by almost like a full 2 seconds. I mean, the live feed was off. And then on top of that, the actual stream was off. And then on top of that, YouTube was off after the fact. So it was really off by the time I ripped it.
All I could think about was Spaceballs, and when Scrooge, whatever his name was, Mel Brooks, because I had to think of our preset name. When Mel Brooks gets beamed, they're like, "Would you like to be beamed into the room?" And he's like, "Sure." And he beams him into the room, and then his ass is now in the front, and his head's in the front, in the back. And he's like, "Why didn't anybody tell me my ass was so big?" He's like, beam me back. So they beam him back, and then the door opens, and he walks into the same exact place that he got beamed to, and it was only 4 feet away. And he's like, much better.
By the way, speaking of that video, if you guys haven't watched it, I know we talked about it a week or two ago about discussing like what we were going to title it, and that it's a really good presentation, and we really want people to watch it. But it's an hour long, roughly, and I think it worked out that we did get a lot of eyeballs on that because of the title and thumbnail. We went back and forth with that for a minute, and if you haven't watched it, take a minute and watch that after the fact because it's a solid video, and it shows a different side of you, which I think a lot of people need to see.
Not just my ass. It's called The Sad Truth About Photography ... And I didn't have a good thumbnail, but then Steven
threw at me. You had the worst thumbnail ever.
I used AI to make those clouds.
I laughed. I'm like, what is this? It was just it was you looking weird and then a photo imposed on a random blue sky background as if you were like flying. Yeah. Which to me, blue sky, bright, vibrant means like happy. And then we call it The Sad Truth About Photography. I'm like, what is this?
I didn't have a good reference. You were at home, you were off for the day, and I waited, and you then threw a screen grab back at me because I didn't think that I could use a screen grab from the video because the video quality sucked.
And I'm like, who cares? Just you look way, you have certain hand movements and just how you're posed on stage. Like you can really instantly tell you're talking about an emotional thing. And then obviously putting a picture up of the gravestone of your mom, that really brings it home.
But it worked. The video is good video. The key to that is we just wanted people to watch it. And we know once they do, they'll enjoy it.
And I don't think it's clickbait, man. It really is the sad truth about photography. It's an emotional story. Not all memories are happy. Not all photos are happy. You're capturing something that's negative, something that's sad.
Well, the biggest takeaway, and I said it during that thing, I got up there and I was like, does anybody care what gear I used?
Yeah.
Right? Like I mentioned what I used just to date and put a time on it for the 2007. So people understood what I was using then. But that's where I just told people, it doesn't matter what you shoot with. no one's going to look at, very few people in the real world are going to look at your photo that's an awesome keeper and be like, well, what did you shoot this with? You should have shot it with a Nikon, right?
An iPhone Pro Max.
Right. No one's going to say that. Anyway, let's move on to baseball.
Yes.
Playoff baseball, well, wild card baseball. I had my photo pass on wanting, this guy says I didn't deserve it, but I certainly did deserve it.
Stupid influencer.
The crazy thing is they played 2 games. What was yesterday? Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday.
Yes.
The first game was Tuesday. So I was packing my stuff. I had everything laid out that I wanted to get laid out to photograph the game. I know I was going to use like a 70-200, 400-2.8, 230, around 2, maybe 2:23. You know what? To be exact, let me check to see what time.
Not
I got
that
a
it
call,
matters
Steven.
to the story, but
not that it matters to the story.
Quick.
But yeah, now I want to know for myself when the call came in Tuesday. Here it is. The call came in at 2:01 from Brandon at Allen's Camera saying, "Hey, you mentioned that you might want to purchase a Canon 100-300 2.8 if it came in.
Ooh.
I got one.
Oh.
Should I list it on the website or do you want it?" So him and hawed for a minute, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to buy it. Exactly 6 minutes later, I called him back.
I think we then discussed it for a minute because I didn't know you had this conversation with him, and I came down because we were going to film another video that day, and that all went out the window because
I had to do photo news.
You had to do photo news too, yeah. And we were trying to figure out like how to film everything, and then that call came in, and everything just changed.
Well, then 6 minutes later, I called him back after talking with you, and I was like, fuck it.
Sign me
I'm gonna
up.
buy it.
Yep.
I'm going to buy it. And I'm going to go drive and get it back to the game because I wanted to be at the game by 4 o'clock, even though it's an 8 o'clock start, because batting practice is at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, you were just getting so nervous about like not being able to make it on time. You're like, am I going to make it? I don't know. I got to drive now. There's traffic and blah, blah, blah.
Well,
and I'm like, dude,
I didn't know there was
traffic. It's only 3 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock game. You're fine.
Steven,
even if you're a little late, it's not a big deal.
No, but you know, you want to be there early.
But you always
want to,
like, for example, like an airport, like 2 hours is fine, but you need to be there like 3 hours beforehand. So if you're a little
everybody
late,
else
at
is
3
there that
hours,
early.
it's not that big of a deal because you still have that buffer in between.
Yeah. Well, normally to Allen's Camera on I-95 with no traffic should take about 28, 29, roughly 30 to 31 minutes to get there.
And that's, keep in mind, the complete opposite way of the stadium to the stadium.
It is. It's going out of the way by 20 some, about 10, 15. Well, anyway, down 95 out of the way to then come all the way back. So I look at it's telling me it's going to take 46 minutes to get there. Then I didn't realize that was taking back streets. Ugh. Then when I checked, I was going, I'm like, this can't be, I thought it was just taking 95. So I start driving towards 95 and the GPS is like, no, turn here, turn here. I checked the traffic. It says plus 46 minutes on I-95 because there was an accident or something. So then I didn't pull a U-turn or anything. I safely got around, back went the other direction, took the back roads, and I got there. It took a while. Instead of being there at 3 o'clock, I got there basically at 3:30.
Yeah, but if you were stuck in that standstill traffic, I mean, that would have been rough. You would have been not
tough.
moving. Yeah.
But I got it. I picked up the lens, got back in the car, 33 minutes from there to the stadium. That's it. 33 minutes. It takes me 18 minutes from Philly, from my house, or 15 to 18 minutes to just hop on 90. Once I'm on 95, it's 12 minutes away.
Sure.
But hopping on 95 with no traffic from Brandon's at Allen's Camera, 33 minutes down there. Got there at 4:14 into the parking lot.
Perfect.
So I got the 100-300, and then I spent the next 4 hours questioning whether that was the right choice.
Of course.
By the way, it's a $10,000 lens.
Yeah, you're like, oh, $10,000? Here you go.
Yeah, well, I did. I still had some credit there from when I sold all my...
This $100,000 bundle.
Yeah. I still had credit. I still have to write him a check, by the way. He let me take it without paying him.
I mean, you're fine.
Oh, yes, he knows I'm fine.
Yeah.
I have to write. I have
knows
the check
where
right
you
here.
Let's just say that.
Yes, he knows where I live. I used up the rest of my store credit that I had from years ago when I traded in all my Nikon gear. This is one of those lenses I can't even get from Canon. Canon has so few of them to go around that if I got it, I would have to return it within a week or two. And the crazy thing is, when I looked at the serial number of my of my lens, it was 63.
Oh, wow.
There's only 63 other lenses. I mean, there's probably 100 made, maybe 150 at most right now. It's very difficult to get this lens. So I made the choice to get it. Then I'm talking to other photographers who shoot sports. Mind you, they've never used this. No one has used this in sports other than very few people. I'm one of the few people who have ever taken that.
Yeah.
I used it, what, like 8 months ago, 9 months ago when I took it to a soccer game in the rain.
But didn't it just become available to the public just like a month or two ago?
A couple months.
Okay.
And so one came in and I bought it. But then I'm talking to these other shooters. They're like, well, 300 isn't tight enough. And I was like, but it's playoffs and not everything needs to be shot tight. So I chose from the position that I was at. I have two R3s. One has the 100 to 300, which I did put a monopod on it first and then realized that I wanted to put the monopod on the 400. And I did scratch up and chip paint off the bottom already, by the way.
So you handheld the 100 to 300, correct?
Yeah, I've handheld the 100 to 300 each game.
So basically that's replacing your 70 to 200. Now,
correct.
I think the only downside to that is you could easily probably shoot on a monopod with a 400 and then have a 70 to 200 around your neck or something like that and easily reach for that.
It's not easy.
Something happens close to you. Instead, where 100 to 300, you'd probably have to like physically put it down, grab the 400 or vice versa. So that's the only downside. But at the same time, the 100 to 300 is much more versatile, in my opinion, than a 70 to 200 2.8.
That's correct. When you try to have a 400 in one hand and then you swing up a 70 to 200 on another, you can't zoom it, right? So you have to have it set to where it's set to, and that's what you end up. I just activated my camera, and that's what you end up getting. And it's awkward to hold with one hand and try to shoot that photo. And
it's just like we talked about this before, but people would shoot concerts with two cameras, and I could never do it. I tried it a handful of times just to try and get used to muscle memory. And I just can't do it. I'm much better with just a single camera, quickly changing lenses and shooting like that. So, yeah, I mean, are you really gaining anything trying to shoot with a 7200 on the other side?
So I think it's the right choice. And after shooting the first game and then coming back and seeing the images, I think it was absolutely the right choice. Because a 400 on home plate from where I'm sitting is a tight shot. You lose out, the background gets obliterated, and you don't see the fans, you barely see the bench. The key to all of this, and I've said it about Paris and the Eiffel Tower, is
I've never heard this.
You got to show the environment, Stephen. You got to show the environment.
I agree.
It's about the environment.
And what's funny is, you prefer to fill the frame all the time.
Well, I prefer to fill the frame, yes, but when I shoot wide, it's about telling the story. So I'm happy with the results that I got. I think the 100 to 300 crushed in many of the situations. It's not long enough to get the shortstop, to get the first baseman, to get the outfield, to get the second baseman. But that's when the Phillies were in the field. I could switch to the 400 and I locked off on the second baseman. I'm like, I think this is going to second base. And see, this is a thing where you need to know what you're shooting and understand the game. A left-handed batter was up who's more likely to pull a ball. Pull means he's going to hit it towards the right side of the field, not the left side, which is the shortstop and third baseman. That's generally how it's going to be. So I knew that there were two strikes, and the guy's going to be more defensive, and he's going to swing. And if he hits the ball, it's going to go to hopefully the right side. I locked off on Bryson Stott at second base. I hear the crack. I see Bryson move, lock off bang off the shots. He dives. He makes the play, throws it to first, and he's out. He makes the play. I get the diving shot because I anticipated being on that player for that particular shot, and I was right. One thing I needed to constantly tell myself when shooting these sports is shoot early and shoot through the frame.
Yeah.
It's the thing that I took away from last year shooting the playoffs is that I stopped shooting too soon because I'm worried about motor driving.
Spraying and praying, yeah.
I'm worried about the perception of that. But I took 2,000 pictures the other day, or yesterday. It was like 20-some hundred, and it was like 60. Oh, I didn't know this was two game. The first game. It was like 2,000 photos, and then I starred 63 of them. But you also have to understand that every time a batter comes to the plate, if it's Kyle Schwarber, and you think you might hit a home run, which you'd think every time he comes up, you're banging off every pitch. And if there's 8 pitches in an at-bat, you're banging off 10, 12, 20 shots per pitch.
You leave with 100 photos at one person at bat that you don't use
more.
at all. Like Schwarber didn't even hit anything last night.
Not last night. So you end up with a lot of dead shots. But when you get the shot, that's all that matters. You need to go ahead and select the right one. And so the one thing that my buddy Brad told me, who's shot a ton of World Series for 20-some years, he's a guy who critiqued my photos last year. He's like, he had an editor who always told him in the playoffs, you're not making baseball cards. Remember, in the playoffs, you're not making baseball cards. Meaning, baseball cards are tight. They're ISO shots.
Yeah.
Not ISO shots. They're ISO shots.
That's how you pronounce ISO.
Yeah. So remember, you're not shooting baseball cards. You have to capture the atmosphere. Atmosphere. You have to remember to do that. Yeah. And that's what I think a lot of these news shooters and AP shooters and Getty shooters and USA shooters, I think that's where they all get it wrong, in my opinion. They're shooting for news. So if someone hits a home run, they've got a tight follow through of the guy, but nothing else.
Yeah.
The guy rounding first base and putting his hand up, they have a tight shot. Everything else is tight because that's what they want for newspapers and for publications. I'm not there to instantly transmit. I'm there to create the image. I'm there to capture what's in front of me for a story. And I go home and maybe edit, which I stayed up till 2:30 last night, but I don't need to get it out into the world instantly because to me, it's not a throwaway image.
I totally agree. And I saw you. I was actually at the game last night, and I could see where you were standing, taking pictures next to the dugout. And I kept thinking the entire time, like, man, he hasn't moved. He's just been there the whole time. But that's because you're pretty much stuck there. That is your spot. And I kept thinking,
I'm assigned that spot, but I could try to go elsewhere. But also knowing that there's 43,000 people.
That's my follow-through point is the fact that it was a sold-out game in this giant stadium. I mean, I could barely move through the crowd to grab a beer. I couldn't imagine you trying to go through the crowd to go to another spot and then take one photo and then have to go all the way back to the dugout, meanwhile missing how many key moments. So by the end of the game, I realized why you pretty much are stuck there the entire game.
So that's my assigned spot. I would like to move around because it does. I texted you last night. I said it's getting monotonous.
Yeah.
And you told me not to take it for granted.
Yeah.
Which I don't take it for granted. I don't take it for granted. It's just, it does become the same thing over and over if nothing's happening during the game.
Yeah.
When something starts to happen during the game, it's good, but then all your shots start to look the same from that position. That's why the news shooters and the agencies have they send 2-3 photographers to every game so that people are in different spots so that they have great coverage. When you're one person, the option is, do you put up remote cameras on home plate and press the trigger for that when you're not actually there so you could cover other angles? That's what a lot of the shooters do is the AP and Getty, they will put up other remote cameras, multiple remote cameras, and trigger them for home plate. So they have two cameras placing a home plate. One may be up in the stands, up in the rafters, and one might be down low at home plate. And they put one Pocket Wizard transmitter on it, and the others have the receivers, and they shoot the two cameras at the same time with one press of a button. So that's something
Are Pocket Wizards still the go-to triggers these days?
They are.
There's so many other options now.
Well, there are Godox and there are this, but you want to know the funny thing?
What?
A lot of the people that are using Godox triggers and Godox flashes are not using them when it comes to when it's important, because they're like, they just keep breaking and they keep dying and the transmitter isn't reliable enough. Like when they're in the dressing room in the clubhouse and they're shooting the photos of the celebration, the person was telling me that they use the Godox, but they need to get something else because the Godox after like 9 pictures was overheating.
What?
And
really?
That's a problem.
Jeez.
Well, yeah, it would overheat. And so this is why you don't skimp out on certain things. If you skimp out, you're going to end up missing the shot because you think that, well, I could get the Godox flash instead of the Pro Photo. Everybody who's using the Pro Photo, there's a reason it's like $1,000 for their Pro Photo flash.
Sure.
The B1 or the B2. How much is the B1 or the B2? Is that the one on top of the camera?
It is like $1,200, I believe.
I should probably get one and learn how to use it for certain situations. But really, it's for the locker room. They cover it with a Ziploc bag usually or some other plastic, and they're firing it off. And that's where the Godoxes are failing on them. So yeah, Pocket Wizards are the way that they're the professional high-end triggers. The last thing you want to have is that you're on the same frequency as someone else and it's triggering your camera.
That's the issue because it's all radio transmission.
So you need to have the best of the best. So that's what a lot of the people are doing. So there was one major moment in the game last night. It was a pretty uneventful game for the most part.
It was.
It was not super enjoyable.
Wasn't it 0-0 up until like the 5th inning or something?
No, we scored 2 runs in like the second or third inning.
Oh, I thought it was later in the game. Okay.
It wasn't, or it could have been the fourth, but I know we had a couple. We were up 4-0 when Stott came up.
Yeah.
And that's where saying ayo, ayo-okay.
Man, and that whole stadium sings along with that song. It's
catchy.
incredible. It is catchy.
It's a catchy song. It's a great feeling there when they're listening to that.
Everyone in their Delco Philly accents.
So to paint the picture, Bryson Stott comes up after Farva for the Miami Marlins made an error at third base, which would have ended the inning. He looks like Farva. He does. He has the bald head with the mustache. He's a big dude.
These college Delco girls behind me screaming the entire time.
Yeah,
Farva,
which is stupid.
You look like the rent-a-cop, blah, 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 you fat piece of crap. And I'm like, Jesus.
It's like, well, one, why are you yelling from...
The stuff that was coming out of their mouth. Oh my God. It's like, who raised you?
What was going in their mouth, Steven? What was going in their mouth?
They were calling him, what was it? Paul Blart, the mall cop or whatever. They're like, Paul Blart.
You missed my joke, Steven. What was going in their mouth?
I heard it.
The answer is beer. The answer is beer, Steven. I don't know where you were thinking, but it was probably beer. And they probably pre-gamed in the parking lot.
It was highly entertaining, I will say that. They definitely added to the atmosphere.
It can get mighty annoying. So anyway, painting the picture. Bryson Stott comes up. Bases are loaded. They play the song. I'm in my position using the 100 to 300. I'm at about 262 millimeters to be exact. Because, he's coming up. First pitch. Boom. Crack.
Grand fucking slam.
Crack of the bat. He crushes it. I'm locked off. I get it. So I shoot a little. I actually didn't shoot super early, but I got the ball leaving twice. So 2 frames in a row. You've got the ball starting to traverse into outer space.
See, and the issue too, I was thinking after he hit that, I'm like, if you're kind of tight on him, how do you even know that he hit a grand slam? Are you taking your eye away from the viewfinder for a second? Are you opening your other eye outside of the viewfinder?
Well,
that's tough.
Keep in mind, I'm on the third base side. I'm left eye shooting. And it's a big camera, so I can't see around it.
If you open your right eye, it doesn't even matter. You can't even see.
No, my right eye's closed.
Yeah.
I'm shooting. I'm focused on Bryson. And I've got my earplugs in, by the way. I wear earplugs in the playoffs because it's just way too loud, and I just want to focus.
My watch kept going off. You're in a loud environment, over 90 decibels.
That's why I wear my earplugs because it just helps me focus.
Sure,
you got to be locked in. So. That something major happened with the way that he looked after he hit the ball.
Oh, yeah.
He stood there. He didn't start running. And the way that the bench reacted and the way that the fans reacted.
And I was in the outfield closer to the third base side, and we could instantly tell the second he hit that ball that was going out. For sure.
It was crushed.
It was immediate.
It was crushed. So I'm on him, and I'm at about 262 millimeters. Last year, when I got the Bryce Harper home run that sent them to the World Series, I was at 200 millimeters because I was using the 70 to 200 at the time. So I could have been a little wider. The shot that I got of him hitting and going through that sequence, perfect. As soon as he started going up the line, I moved to focusing in on the dugout and the celebration going on there, and I didn't follow him up the third base line and go wider to keep him in the frame and keep the dugout in there. I should have done that.
A cool shot would have been like him throwing the bat with the dugout in the background, freaking out. The spike, yeah.
Right. So one of the guys that's shooting with the Phillies down there is Mitch Leff, and he took an awesome Bryce Harper shot, very similar to the one I had last year. Mm-hmm. It's blown up to the size of the wall, floor to ceiling, under the stadium when we're on our way to the field and to the press, the press area. It's the same picture that I have, very similar. He's a little lower and about 5 feet to the left, but they printed it, and it's in the cinder block wall. It's overlay. It's awesome when you walk down there and you see that. So Mitch shoots with a 400, has a 70 to 200.
Oh, there you go.
Also, and he leans in, and he gets the shot that has Bryson on the left, slamming the bat and the entire bench. And
yeah, that's the shot I'm like imagining.
Yeah, and I was messaging him last night till like 2 a.m. We were just talking about it. My shots are fine. Like my batting shots are fine. I should have gone wider at that position. And what he said to me was, and this is in Instagram, nothing is a fail because you learn from it. Just like studying film as a professional athlete. Huh. And so I know I didn't fail. I got some great stuff, and I got the first part of it. fail that I consider to be technically it's a slight miss is that I didn't go wider for this, and I know what happened. It's not that it happened fast, and it's not that it was loud, and it's none of that, because it all slows down and is gone. It's not even there when I'm shooting. What happened is earlier in the game, I made a choice that I was going to focus on celebrations on the bench more this game.
Sure.
And so when it happened, I got him hitting, I got him starting to walk, and then I was like, all right, let's find like someone celebrating on the bench. When another photographer said to me also last night that in 10 years, no one's going to know
what
the bench. Don't care about the bench. What they're celebrating is like,
there's
stay
no
with the batter. Stay with the batter going to first base.
Sure.
And he's like, some of the best pictures are when they go around first base. And I don't agree with that. Personally, I think we all have different, because you lose a lot there. But the shot that Mitch got, you can look, it's on my Instagram story. Probably not now, but he goes, his name is Mitch Leff. He goes by MLEFF photo on Instagram, and you'll see it. That our shots of Bryson swinging and hitting the ball are the same, but he then pulls out wider with the 70-200, and I guarantee you he's probably he could be around 70 or 80 millimeters for this shot because it was a little wider than last year, and he followed him up the line, and he got a great shot. So what his thing to me was, it's not a fail. He told me, he's like, after every game, he sits there and he looks at all of the shots that Getty posted, the AP posted, all the different news wires, because he wants to see what the other shooters got so that it burns into his brain that he reacts when something happens.
What to
in
do
the future.
and what not to do, yeah.
Yeah, because it is like studying film. Why do you think I have a couple hundred photo books on my shelf? Because
it's inspiration at the end of the day. It's
inspiration, and sometimes when I'm down, I look at these images and it makes me excited to go shoot again.
Sure.
And so why do you think I've studied like Neil Leifer, his sports photos? Because they're classic and they're great. And so just like studying film, just like athletes will watch the game film back, he goes and he looks at different photos that come out of all the different teams to see what they're creating. Baseball does become monotonous, but in the playoffs, when the moral of the story is you shouldn't be shooting at 400 for everything, because you need to get the atmosphere in there, and those are the images that are going to last and be classic for years to come, are the wider ones that capture that, where it describes the environment and not just a tight photo of someone doing something.
Did you get the celebration shots on the field after the fact? Because I have actual video of you running onto the field, and you were one of the only photographers I actually saw run on the field, by the way.
Every time I do that, Steven, I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing.
Like, can I
that
go?
I'm about
Can I go?
to get tackled. No, so what we're
Which,
told,
by the way, somebody did get tackled. That was awesome.
I saw him get one that's stupid to run on the field.
Oh, I know.
He did it for $1,000, by the way. It was posted all over the social medias here.
Do you get banned for life or something? How does that work?
It says he was banned, but if they're not going to.
How do
he's
they
not going to. They're not going to know.
Yeah,
they're not
no
going to
way.
police that. They're not using facial recognition at the Phillies saying this guy can't come into the game.
Yeah.
He just can't buy season tickets. He'll buy tickets through someone
under
else.
his name. Yeah,
maybe. But I asked you earlier, I'm like, if the Phillies win, can you take video? I actually asked you if you had the new phone, because it would have been better video.
I know.
But he's like, no. But,
well, no, I'm like, I'll try, but I'm also trying to watch the game and not focus on you.
No, I meant at the end. If
I know, but like we're
field.
all celebrating. I'm not trying to be like, hold on, let me get video of Jared.
Well, how did it look?
Meanwhile, it was
How
me,
did
my
I
brother, my cousin, and my dad were sitting together.
How did I look running on the field, Steven?
Badass, though.
But you can see my ass from out there?
Yeah. It's a full moon tonight, man.
Yeah, I will say that most of the photographers that I was shooting with in that area, only 3 of us actually ran on the field.
I only saw you.
Well, they came on after I moved out. Okay. But what happens is we're told that there's a 15-second hold after the final pitch, which gives the TV stations their time to be out there first. But seriously, by the time I'm done taking pictures of them jumping and celebrating from a distance with the 100 to 300, I put the 100 to 300 down. I had the 15 to 35, and I ran out onto the field, and I'm running out again. I'm like, is anybody going to stop me? Is anybody going to stop me? I'm going to do something. But no, I'm okay. I'm there. So what I chose to do is I had the medallion around my neck under my shirt for the Insta360 Go 3.
Okay.
And I it was already recording. I haven't even checked the footage yet.
I can't wait.
It was recording from my chest, and I put the Insta360 1-inch in my hot shoe of the camera
360.
so that
Nice.
we could get the whole thing. So my idea, and I think it all ran for, this all takes 15 or 16 minutes total by the time that it's done, that I'm thinking it might be interesting to put all that up uncut to show people what it's like to be running into this fray when POV, someone wins something.
First person POV, yeah.
Right. It's your favorite porn search. POV. Riley Reid. Was that the girl? Was that the girl you were excited to see when we went to Vegas?
What are you talking about?
You're like, that's Riley Reid. I've seen her before.
I've never watched her
I didn't know who the hell Riley Reid was, but that was her, right?
No comment.
No comment. That's funny. Anyway, so I think that might be an interesting video to put out. I don't know that it will do very well in terms of.
It's a shame because Philly audience would obviously love it, but no one else cares, really.
But maybe just put yourself into the situation. It's not about shooting the Phillies there. It's about what it's like to be in that scrum. Most of those photos look like shit.
I was going to say, how did they come out?
Stuff.
And the crowd's so big, all the players. There's so many of them.
The players are there. So you're looking. So what you're looking for? I'm looking for Bryce Harper.
I knew you were going right for him. Yeah.
Well, you have to look for the best of the best.
Sure.
You have to look for these moments. So you try to find those players because you never know what they're going to end up doing. Most of the pictures are garbage. I'll tell you, most of the reason I like getting out onto the field there is that I end up in the videos.
Well, I was going to ask, were you on the broadcast feed?
My dad said he saw me once.
Okay.
I don't know because I'm not paying attention to that. I do. You will see in the video recording, one of the team people said something to a couple of us photographers. Like, I was on the mound, and he's like, "Give him space, give him space." And so I just stay there. I don't go in any closer. And the guy comes around. He's like, "I told you to give him space." I'm like,
"Oh,
dude, I'm on the outskirts. Leave me alone." I'm like, "There's people in the middle of the fucking fray right now that are shooters." And so he went away. But I debated whether I should keep that in the video when we post it.
Do you know who I am?
It's like, have you seen my ass?
I'm an influencer.
Make room for my ass. Make room.
Watch the fanny.
What I will say is Miles Teller was there.
Oh, was he in the... No, he wasn't in that part.
He was on the field.
Oh, really?
He was out on the field.
Because he's from Miles Teller, Cape May, I think, in New Jersey?
He's from Downingtown.
Oh, I thought Cape May.
He's from Pennsylvania, so he grew up a Phillies fan.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Miles Teller, Whiplash was one of his first major roles.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of movies before that. He's in Top Gun, the latest one. He has a major role. Well, he plays Goose, the son, right? Goose's son?
Correct.
So he's a big Phillies fan. So he was out on the field too. And so what happens is the players, they do a team picture, which I didn't go to the front to get the team picture. I shot it from the side. I never do.
You should,
maybe the next round I might end up doing that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look good from
exactly. It's just like a random snapshot from the side.
But I like doing the side to show all the other shooters.
But no one cares about that.
No, I do. That's what I'm doing. It's like, but maybe in the next one I will do it differently if they do win again, which is going to be very difficult to beat the Braves.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll squeeze in there and do that. But as the players get off the field, I'm walking backwards, doing the shoots, and you're interweaving with the other shooters on the field, so you're working around them. I also will tap another shooter on the shoulder or something if they're trying to get to a certain position to get the shot. I will say, go in front of me. I will let them do that because they're working.
Sure.
Like, I think it's more important that they get what they need to get sometimes than me. And that happened also a little later, right near the end, and you'll probably see it on the video. Heather, who's another Phillies shooter who's not on the field doing the action stuff normally, she comes out to get certain stuff, and I was in a good spot, and I knew that she needed to get this shot. And so I was like, Heather, move in front of me, take it, right? Because I understand my position. I'm documenting, and I'm also taking pictures of other photographers so that they can have those pictures.
That's
because
cool.
A lot of the photographers, even before the game, if I see them in a cool position, I'll take a great picture of it.
Can you take a really cool picture of me taking pictures of Bryce Harper, please? So I can
well,
post
most of the photographers,
media.
They don't get pictures of themselves.
Oh, I know.
Because that's not the focus.
I think I have, I don't know, maybe one photo of me in the concert pit taking photos out of the 15 years that I did it,
Yeah.
And it's cool to have that picture. But besides that, I never had any coverage.
So I make sure to get, I took pictures of Mitch early in the first game just so that he could have them. I take pictures of Miles, the Phillies photographer, Dennis, this other kid who's with Major League Baseball, who's local, who's used to watch my videos, or doesn't need to. He's working now. Just so that they can have the picture of them in the scrum. And so I do make sure that other photographers, if I see that they need something, I'm going to have them move in front of me. Because I know it's more important for them, for their job, to do it than me getting it and sharing it with the world. In some situations, not going to be every situation, but out in that scrum, I know that the photos are going to be shit for the most part, and so that's why I do stuff like that.
I mean, it sounds like you had a great time and you got some great photos, and I'm looking forward to see the rest of the playoffs and all the photos you get to take there.
The thing is, I have some trepidation before shooting game one because of the 100 to 300. But when I got the pictures back into my computer and processed them, I was much happier. When I first looked through the lens and saw that 300 was enough, I was happy and I realized it was the right thing. And then it's just react. Then it's just do what you know you need to do. When I will write the auto ISO thing, I will write it and use these baseball pictures as examples. I'm shooting at 1/4000th of a second at 2.8 at 4000 ISO. If I was in auto ISO, and I'll have to film this, I'll probably take an EVF recorder, Steven, just so that we can see what's happening in auto ISO. You're going to see that the auto ISO would jump around nonstop from subject to background to dark shirt to light shirt. And there's no reason that should happen when it's even lighting situations. You just leave it set in manual, the light isn't changing.
And I know you can, change your metering modes and have it focused on just like, I think the Sony cameras let you meter just based on the faces and stuff like that. And obviously exposure comp plays a role with auto ISO.
That still can be thrown off, a black guy or a white guy.
Well, exactly. I still
it's going to be thrown off.
It can be easily thrown off even in an even lit situation.
And I know people will say, but you can limit the ISO range and you can say, don't go over 4000.
There's a lot of things you could do, yeah.
But there's no reason to have it jumping around like
when it's evenly lit, like you said.
Right. There is one situation, and you're going to have to wait and see the video to know what that one situation is where I think it could be usable.
It was from to find out.
I remember you can go watch the Nikon D850 one from Longwood Gardens where I miss a blue heron flying after it was in a certain situation. And the reason I did is because I couldn't react quick enough to make the change from what it was doing. Remember?
Yeah, that was a good shoot.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, episode 71, the phone number is down below. Playoffs will continue on Saturday, Monday, and then the home game is Wednesday, Thursday. If it goes that long, I forgot it's only 5 games. So the first one to win 3 games, the series is over. It's going to be a tough one to get back to the World Series.
Let's go.
We'll see. You're not even a fan. Shut up, Steven.
I'm just on the bandwagon, my friend.
You just go to drink
just
beer.
There for the beers.
You're just there for the beers. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for listening once again. Jared Polin, FronosPhoto.com. See ya.
Bye.
Living in a wealthy world with my head in the outer space. No,